Here are today's top stories. Authorities warn members of urban poor group Kadamay not to attempt to take over government housing projects. Malacanang says President Duterte is ready to hold dialogues with the Catholic Church to dispel wrong notions that he is behind recent killings of priests. The government plans to give social grants to poor families affected by high prices brought by the train law. And Luzon can expect more rains as a tropical depression affects the southeast monsoon. Good day, I'm William Theo. Welcome to the PNA Newsroom. The PNP is ready to file charges against members of urban poor group Kadamay who will attempt to take over housing units set aside for uniformed personnel. Meanwhile, President Rodrigo Duterte orders Kadamay to stop occupying government housing units or face violent dispersals. More on this from Janice Cave.
President Rodrigo Duterte has ordered urban poor group Kadamay to stop occupying housing units for soldiers and policemen. The president made the announcement following the attempt by about 500 members of Kadamay to seize for themselves a housing project in Rodriguez, Rizal. The president said he would call on the Special Action Force to force them out of the occupied houses. Presidential spokesperson Harry Roque earlier said the president will not allow another housing takeover by Kadamay. Roque said Duterte may have allowed Kadamay to occupy the housing project in Pandi, Bulacan, but if another takeover happens, they would be met with the full force of the law. Meanwhile, members of the illegal settlers group may face charges of trespassing if they occupy housing projects that are already owned by others. PNP Chief Oscar Albayalde assured that the PNP will help the National Housing Authority in preventing Kadamay from taking over the government's housing units. The PNP chief says those who will try to occupy those houses will be arrested. He stressed that he will no longer allow the houses set aside for uniformed personnel to be taken away from them like what happened to the housing units in Bulacan. For the PNA Newsroom, I'm Janice Cave.
President Rodrigo Duterte's consultative committee to review the 1987 Constitution is expected to complete its draft federal constitution this weekend. CONCOM Senior Technical Assistant and Spokesperson Ding Generoso says they hope to complete the draft after the Technical Working Group lawyers and Office of the Chairman have reviewed everything line by line. Generoso said the CONCOM will be working on provisions on federated regions and transitory provisions on Friday, despite it being a holiday in observance of Eid'l Fitr or the end of Ramadan. The CONCOM will kick off regional consultations in Dumaguete on Monday and will follow in Baguio City on June 25 to 27. Meanwhile, the entire draft constitution will be voted on in one en-banc session, tentatively on June 19 instead of its earlier target on June 14. Generoso says the CONCOM is still on track in submitting its draft federal constitution to the president on July 9 or earlier, before he delivers his third State of the Nation address on July 23. The Filipino Muslim community joins the rest of the world today in celebrating Eid'l Fitr, or the end of Ramadan. President Rodrigo Duterte earlier declared the end of the Muslims' holy month of fasting as a regular holiday. Muslims held their morning prayer followed by a small feast at Liwasang Aurora in the Quezon City Circle. Similar celebrations were held starting in the morning at Muslim communities such as Barangay Juliat in Quezon City, Taguig, and Quiapo in Manila. Meanwhile, Mayor Inday Sara Duterte greeted Muslims in Davao City as they celebrated Eid'l Fitr. The mayor hopes for Allah's blessings to all Muslims. She also called on her constituents to do their part to maintain peace and order in the city and for Muslims and Christians to unite and maintain a good relationship. President Rodrigo Duterte is open to having a dialogue with leaders of the Catholic Church amid disagreements between the two. Presidential spokesperson Harry Roque says expressing views is a part of democracy and any dispute may be resolved through a dialogue. He says it helps that Archbishop Romulo Valle, Secretary General of the Catholic Bishops' Conference of the Philippines, is a Davaoeño. Roque, meanwhile, says the president will stop the culture of violence against priests and other sectors of society. President Duterte earlier ranted against the church after Lingayen Dagupan Archbishop Socrates Villegas linked him to the recent murders of priests. The president is known for his tirades against the church, whose leaders have condemned and vilified his policies. The country's flagship government television network, PTV4, is set to air free Chinese shows by August this year. The Chinese embassy in Manila announced this following the formal launch of the China TV Theater. Li Lingxiao, press attaché of the embassy, says China TV Theater will feature the TV drama Feather Flies to the Sky, the 2014 Chinese film Beijing Love Story, a cartoon show, and a documentary. These shows will be dubbed in Filipino. Chinese ambassador to the Philippines, Zhao Jianhua, said China TV Theater serves as a window for Filipinos to better understand China, including its people, history, and culture. For his part, Presidential Communications Secretary Martin Andanar thanked the Chinese envoy for opening the world of broadcast, print, television, and radio of China to the Philippines. PTV General Manager Dino Apolonio says the public needs content that challenge their minds and promote creativity and imagination, which China Theater is contributing immensely in this regard. Still to come, the government plans to give social grants to poor families affected by high prices brought about by the train law. Prices of highland vegetables remain stable despite heavy rains in Luzon. These and more when the PNA Newsroom continues.
Train 2 will cut corporate income tax rate from 30% to 25%, making our corporate tax system more competitive in the region. This will primarily benefit our small and medium-scale industries, which employ a majority of Filipino workers.
The Judicial and Bar Council has begun the public interview for 6 nominees vying for a vacant post in the Supreme Court. Associate Justice Presbiterio Velasco Jr. is set to retire on August 8 when he reaches the mandatory retirement age of 70. 12 candidates are being considered to replace Velasco, 6 of whom have been previously interviewed. The nominees were grilled on pressing issues such as the disputed Panatag or Scarborough Shoal, the co-warranto petition, and same-sex marriage. The JBC is constitutionally mandated to screen and vet nominees to the President for vacant posts in the judiciary and the offices of the Ombudsman and Deputy Ombudsman. President Duterte has 90 days to name Velasco's replacement in the High Court. The government is ready to give social grants to poor families to help them cope with higher costs brought by the tax reform law. More on this report from Miguel Hill.
2 government agencies will start next month the distribution of social grants to mitigate the effect of the Tax Reform for Acceleration and Inclusion, or TRAIN. Presidential spokesperson Harry Roque said Department of Social Welfare and Development is ready to give 10 billion pesos worth of unconditional cash transfer to the 10 million poorest Filipino families. On the other hand, the Department of Transportation will distribute jeepney vouchers for duly franchised public utility vehicles. According to the Department of Finance, the UCT beneficiaries will receive 200 pesos a month, which will increase to 300 pesos in 2019 and 2020. Roque said the amount of jeepney vouchers has not yet been finalized, but 5,000 pesos per jeepney owner is being considered depending on the train collection. Social grants are part of the mitigating measures under the train, which is the first package of the comprehensive tax reform program to correct a number of deficiencies in the tax system to make it simpler, fairer, and more efficient. Meanwhile, Roque clarified that there will be no increase on sin taxes since new taxes on sweetened products have already been included under the train law. He said the increase in the prices of prime commodities was due to the higher cost of petroleum products. Roque pointed out that 35 billion pesos worth of disposable income has also contributed to higher prices of basic commodities. For the PNA Newsroom, I am Miguel Hill.
The supply of prices of highland vegetables from this province to Metro Manila and nearby areas have remained normal despite the continuous heavy monsoon rains. Tradings at the La Trinidad Vegetable Trading Post and Benguet Agri-Pinoy Trading Center appeared normal with an abundant supply of vegetables. Long queues of trucks continue to transport vegetable products to Metro Manila, other areas in Luzon, and some parts of Visayas. Provincial Administrator Noel Ngolob assures that there is no ground for vegetable prices to increase. Ngolob has urged vegetable traders and businessmen not to unduly take advantage of the inclement weather to increase the price of vegetables coming from the province. The Office of the Provincial Agriculture likewise says there was no reported damage on vegetable crops in Benguet, even as the province had been experiencing continuous rain due to the southwest monsoon. In Ilocos Norte, farmers welcome the monsoon rains as they take advantage of the rainwater tend to their once dried farmlands. For a week now, farmers had been busy preparing their farms as they take advantage of the rainwater. The first rain of June is also an opportunity for other farmers to earn extra income as they enjoy catching exotic frogs to sell in markets. Ilocos Norte is currently experiencing heavy rains and gale winds brought by the monsoon season. Meanwhile, Ilocos Norte Governor Amy Marcos reminded the local community and resiliency councils that disaster management should be a year-round task. As of Thursday, several flooded areas have already been reported to the Provincial Disaster Risk Reduction and Management Council, such as in Batac, Paway, Solsona, and Dingras towns. Super Typhoon Lawin, which hit Ilocos Norte in 2016, left behind over 2 billion pesos in agricultural and infrastructural damage. Health officials in Davao City report a 57% drop in dengue cases this year. Beth Banzon, Tropical Diseases Prevention Head of the City Health Office, says they recorded 562 confirmed cases of dengue from January up to the second week of June. The total is lower than the 977 cases recorded in the same period. Despite the decrease, Banzon warns the public to remain alert against the disease, particularly this rainy season. Homes should be cleaned and disinfected regularly to prevent the breeding of dengue-carrying mosquitoes. Those suspected of having symptoms of dengue are also urged to get themselves tested in health centers and hospitals. Among the symptoms are high fever, severe headache, severe joint and muscle pains, fatigue, nausea, vomiting, and skin diseases. Davao City is leading the celebration of Dengue Awareness Month on June 19. Up next, the DILG is considering allowing barangay officials to arm themselves as they join the fight against criminality. Luzon can expect more rains as a tropical depression affects the southeast monsoon. These and more when the PNA Newsroom returns.
Binuksan na ang health station para sa mga bakwit na nakatira sa biyaya ng pagbabago transitional site sa Barangay Sagunsongan. Kabilang sa mga dumalo sa ribbon cutting si Marawi City Mayor Mahul Usman Gandamra. Lumagda rin ng Pledge of Commitment ang mga kinatawa ng Department of Health, Marawi City Health Office, Barangay LGU at iba't ibang non-government organizations. Sa pangunguna ng lokal na pamahalaan ng Marawi na ipatayo sa Area 2 ang konkretong istruktura para sa health facility ito. Meron Meron itong isang delivery room, 2 kwarto para sa mga pasyenteng kailangang i-confine, isang stock room para sa mga gamot at paraphernalia, isang consultation room at isang doctors and nurses quarters. Katuwang ng Marawi City Health Office ang Department of Health maging ang iba't ibang international at local NGOs sa pagkumpleto ng mga medical equipment at supply ng gamot. Isang doktor, isang nurse at 2 midwife ang nakatalagang regular na maghatid ng serbisyong medikal sa naturang health station. Sa ngayon, alas 8 ng umaga hanggang alas 5 ng hapon ito bukas mula Lunes hanggang Biyernes, pero layunin umanong gawing 24/7 ang operation hours nito sa mga susunod na buwan. Isa pang health facility ang nakatakdang ipatayo sa Area 4 naman ng transitional site sa tulong ng isang pribadong grupo. Inaasahang sa buwan ng Hunyo masisimulan ang konstruksyon nito. Para sa bayan, Donna Magsino, Philippine Information Agency.
Barangay captains may be allowed to arm themselves depending on how severe the threats are on their personal safety. Interior OIC Secretary Eduardo Año says barangay chiefs are likely to face threats as they go up against criminals and scalawags in their communities. He says this is to ensure their safety as they fulfill their role in the government's war against drugs and criminality, and however clarify that they can only use their weapons for self-defense as the police is well prepared to combat lawless elements. Barangay officials may opt to buy their own guns and secure private licenses or join the Special Civilian Armed Forces or CAFGU to receive government-issued firearms. The Philippine Ascals are set to have a new coach as they prepare for the AFF Suzuki Cup. Reports claim that the team is tapping the services of England's Terry Butcher as its new head coach. Butcher began his playing career with hometown squad Ipswich in 1976, but his career went full bloom in 1986 when he moved to Scottish powerhouse Rangers. The central defender starred for England in the 1990 FIFA World Cup when the team made its way into the semi-finals, its deepest run in the tournament since becoming the champion in 1966. As a coach, Butcher brought Inverness to the Scottish Second-Tier League title in 2013, earning the club promotion to the Scottish Premier League. Butcher was actually considered for the Global Cebu job in 2017 before the club settled for Japanese mentor Toshiaki Imai. Butcher will become the first Englishman to take over the Philippine men's football team in 55 years. And for our featured story, an OFW reaches out to children affected by the conflict in Marawi City by donating school supplies. As a former evacuee herself, she hopes to help these children gain an education to rebuild their dreams. More on this from Laid Kabagani.
An overseas Filipino worker from Switzerland extended her donations for the young learners of Bakwit Village Evacuation Center. In her will to help conflict-affected individuals, Giselle Provido Chule with her husband Bertrand Chule, a Swiss national, had organized Little Hopes Foundations in Switzerland, which aims to provide assistance to evacuees of conflict communities. Giselle herself had been an evacuee several times due to armed conflicts in her hometown in southern part of the Philippines. Little Hopes Foundation aims to somehow revitalize children's dreams despite the harsh effects of war.
And I wish sa 200 kids na atay mabag-o na mind or ma-turn into positive yung mind nila.
Straight from Switzerland, Giselle went to Matungao Municipality in Lanao del Norte to distribute school kits to IDP children that are currently schooling at Sultan Macalpang D. Permitas Central School. The Little Hopes Foundation donated about 200 school bags containing supplies of notebooks, writing pads, pencils, erasers, rulers, crayons, pencil cases, and art papers.
Okay naman. Salamat sa inyo kay nakatulong kayo o sa mga bata natin dito, nakatulong kayo lahat. okay naman sa amin. Tinatanggap namin salamat sa inyong pagtulong sa mga bata.
Little Hopes Foundation has also distributed school supplies to the home-based IDP children in Iligan City. Giselle visits these young learners personally at their homes. Giselle targets to help sustaining education of young evacuees. From this small provision, Giselle hopes that her foundation will be able to bring more support to those conflict victims.
Ginawa ko po ang kaya ko, yung kaya ko lang talaga na maitulong sa inyo. Sana next year, hindi lang sa inyo, sa ibang lugar naman.
Residents have wholeheartedly thanked Little Hopes Foundation with their donations.
Salamat!
Meanwhile, a teacher encourages her students to continue education despite their traumatic experiences during Marawi siege.
Yung mga batang bakwit, sana naman huwag kayong mag-alala, pumasok lang kayo, huwag kayong matakot. Kasi patuloy ang buhay ng tao. Kayo, lalong-lalo na kayo, bata pa kayo, marayo pa ang mararating nyo. Malay mo, kayo, maging pulis kayo, o maging presidente kayo ng Pilipinas, hindi natin malalaman. Kasi pag kayo nag-aral lang na mabuti at huwag kayong matakot na pumasok.
For PNA Newsroom, Dade Cabagani, Philippine Information Agency.
Expect moderate to heavy rains in most parts of Luzon as tropical depression Esther continues to enhance the monsoon wind. Pagasa says Esther was last seen moving towards the southern part of Taiwan, which is within the Philippine Area of Responsibility or PAR. Public storm warning, signal number 1 was previously lifted in Batanes. The southwest monsoon will, however, trigger moderate to heavy rain in Batanes, Babuyan Group of Islands, the Ilocos Region, Cordillera Region, Tarlac, Pampanga, Zambales, and Bataan. Affected residents are advised to be on alert for flash floods and landslides. Let's check out the weather forecast for Metro Manila and the rest of the country. Here's another look at today's top stories. Authorities warn member of urban poor group Kadamay not to attempt to take over government housing projects. Malacanang says President Duterte is ready to hold dialogues with the Catholic Church to dispel wrong notions that he is behind recent killings of priests. The government plans to give social grants to poor families affected by high prices brought about by the train law. And Luzon can expect more rains as a tropical depression affects the southeast monsoon. Thank you for watching another edition of the PNA Newsroom. To check out these and other stories, visit the PNA website or follow the Philippine News Agency on Facebook and Twitter. For more stories about the government and how it serves the Filipinos, look for these hashtags in all of our social media platforms and websites. And it's another long weekend. On behalf of the PNA Newsroom, we are greeting all the dads a very happy Father's Day, and to our Muslim brothers and sisters, Eid Mubarak. And that's your daily dose of the latest news and information that you need to know from the PNA Newsroom. I'm William Theo. Good day.